This month I was supposed to move house and failed, but I did buy some stuff, I guess, so let's talk about that instead. So the way this usually works is that I have like a plan on what I want to talk about, and then I come and talk about it. But my plan for this month was it was going to be talking about moving house, and then I didn't. Usually then I'd have something to fall back on in case my first plan falls through, and that would probably have been Dawn Trail. But I want to make a video about that around the time the first patch comes out, like about my thoughts about the entire game, so I'm saving those for then. And then I just made a video all about the Gong Cha event, which people are actually watching for once, which was nice. I didn't expect anyone to watch it, but they did. So I can't talk about that either. I can give you a brief update on what's happened since I released that video. We did go back and get the last 2 keyrings, which they still managed to mess up, but I got them. We were there for nearly 2 hours. We ordered 6 drinks, but then we were only given and only paid for 5, but they gave me the keyrings before giving me the drinks, which they don't normally do, but they did that for some reason this time. And they also only did it for me. Multiple other people who had ordered in front of me were asked when they were given the drinks what they wanted, and yet for some reason, specifically for me, they asked me what I wanted and gave it to me straight away. So I got my keyrings, but they only charged me for 5 drinks, so I only paid for 5 drinks. So in the 2 trips, instead of buying the 12 drinks I was supposed to buy to get all 4 things, I only bought 8, which I'm hardly going to complain about, but I am a bit confused. I got the chance to meet people and talk about playing the game. Surprisingly, of all those people I spoke to, only one of them had beaten Dawn Trail, and even that person wasn't like totally up to date, in that they hadn't done the raids, which I had already finished by that point. So I couldn't talk to people about all of it, and even if I had, there were other people there who hadn't played much. There was one I was talking to, and she'd only just started Heavenswood, so we didn't go into much detail, but the person I was talking to hated Dawn Trail, and I was like, yeah, it's probably my favourite. Just to give you a brief spoiler on what my thoughts are. Yeah, it's like probably my favourite. I really liked it. What else did we do that day then? We did go out as well. Originally, we were going to just get a drink and then go to the museum, but then I was like, oh, well, we'll get all of the drinks we need to get the last 2 keyrings, and then that turned into a whole thing, but we did that first, but like I say, that took nearly 2 hours, so we actually ended up being late getting to the museum, but it turns out it didn't matter anyway. The museum were holding like a Nepal-themed day. They did one around the Lunar New Year, where it was all like Chinese-themed, and that was really good. They'd done up different parts of the museum, and like they had stuff going on all over the place, and that was cool. This was not that. What this was instead was mostly just people dancing, and they were dancing in a really awkward place where it was really hard to get around them. So we ended up not staying, really. We were there for longer, but that's because we went and saw the new exhibition they had on as well. But if we hadn't done that, we probably only would have been there for like 10 or 15 minutes. Like I say, we ended up staying and going to the new exhibition they've got on, but that was pretty disappointing by as well. They had one on a few weeks ago. Well, it was like last year, but it only ended recently. That was all about Egypt, and it was all about late stage Egypt. I think I might have spoken about it. But anyway, this one was all about it was called Wild, and it's about the wilderness, but it just seemed like really unfocused. We thought it was going to be like about wild animals and stuff, but the first section was just landscape paintings, which was fine. The second section was about local wild animals, which we found really interesting, and then it suddenly took a pivot into being all about colonization in Australia, and then we just got a bit confused. And then the next section was all about Yellowstone National Park, and then the last section was an island off the coast of Scotland, and then the last section was just a lynx and a sheep next to each other, and a questionnaire about whether or not we were now more environmentally conscious. It was really weird. Usually, the exhibitions there are better than this. Besides, like, the sort of generic wilderness theme, there was a real, like, lack of cohesion. Every individual part was interesting, but outside of literally, these are outdoors things, kind of, there was no, like, clear lead-in from each one to the next. If it had all just been about the local wilderness, we probably would have found that much more interesting, but I don't know, it just felt kind of all over the place. And then we ended that day by going out and getting steak, and then getting a cheesecake to take home. It's just kind of a weird day, which is kind of what this entire month has been like, really. Like, we had a plan, and then it went all over the place, and ended in a totally different place than we thought it would. So you might be wondering then why we haven't moved house, and it's just not ready. The people who live there right now haven't moved out. The work we need doing on the house hasn't happened. That's it. We're not like in a desperate rush or anything. Neither of us. We're not in a desperate rush to leave here, and they're not in a desperate rush to leave there, so it's not like the end of the world, but we're in this kind of position now where because we're doing that, we're kind of like planning things around it, and then when that doesn't happen, we keep kind of like wasting time because of it. We've not done very much because we were planning on doing that, and then with that not happening, we've not done very much. What we have done, we bought a lot of things that we need for the house. We bought like just some bits for the kitchen, but we also bought like a load of paint. We've got 20 litres of white paint at the moment. One room needs painting completely, so we're going to use the white as like an undercoat in there. One wall needs painting white, which, again, that'll be fine. And then 20 litres is way too much paint, but I am also planning on painting the entire basement white, just because I think it will make the space look brighter. And for what I want it for, I want it to be really bright. Because like I want to do like woodworking and stuff down there, which is actually what the room's currently being used for anyway, which is why it's kind of the plan. But it's quite dark down there, obviously. It's under the ground. So painting it white I feel like would help a lot of that. So a lot of the paint is just going to go on that. But that room obviously needs fixing first, like I've said. I got another UPS because I don't really like the one I've got right now. I got a better one. It's just more powerful. So hopefully that'll be a bit better for me. I got a new router, which I'm going to set up when we get there. In the travel video that I did, I spoke about the travel router I've got. It's like a proper version of that, basically. It's by the same people, just because I liked using that one so much. I figured I'll just get a better version of the same thing. What else? Yeah, mostly just like random little bits for the house we bought. We also have got like quotes for stuff. We went out and got quotes for the flooring that we need in a couple of the rooms. Tomorrow I'm going to call a guy to get a quote for doing the bathroom, because we want to get the bath removed and then a new shower fitted. And then, yeah, there's some work that he's doing in the yard, which I'll probably end up doing myself, where the floor's not level, so it needs taken up and put it back down. I could get a quote for doing that, but I've been told it's going to be a lot, and I've got more important jobs that I would rather spend that on, and considering I know this job is just going to be annoying, I'm probably just going to do it myself. And then, obviously, there's the basement, but I'm kind of putting off doing that just because I'm worried about it, both in terms of the scope of the job and the cost. It's clearly the most important job, like I've said multiple times, but it's not the job I want to do. I'm kind of doing all the jobs I want to do first, which I know is probably the worst way of doing it, but I can live in the house and fix it downstairs, whereas I can't really live in the house if I can't, have a shower. So I need that doing. I just need that doing either way. One of the rooms is basically unusable at the moment. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, for one thing, full of shit, and for another, it's bare walls and no floor. So we need that finishing. So I'm going to do those jobs first and then get the basement fixed. I said then. I mean, I'm going to pay for those first and then sort out the basement. The work is probably all going to happen about the same time, but I guess this will be what we do next month now. Hopefully. It's going to happen. It's all just a matter of when. I did also buy a few things that aren't for the house, that were for not actually necessarily my channel, but stuff to make videos with. So I'm going to use those in future videos. So actually the video about Gong Cha was the last one that I'm going to record with my old, well, I was using my phone, but my old camera. Because I got a new phone, mostly because my old phone just kept breaking. So I got a new one with a nicer camera. So my next video will be filmed with that. I also got a new tripod. It's actually a gimbal, but I don't think I have much use for like shots like that. So I'm actually going to just use it as a tripod, like I said. And then I also got some lav mics, which again, I don't really know how much use I'm going to get out of. I have debated. I was thinking about using the lav mic for my stream. That might be good. I'll think about that. But, I mean, I don't really talk on stream anyway, so it doesn't matter that much, does it? But I got some new stuff to film with, so that'll be nice. And then, other stuff for the channel. Yakuza 4 is going to be ending in the next few weeks. I can't quite remember when. I think it's around the 8th, something like that. So I'll be starting a new LP after that. Well, I'll take my break like I usually do and then start a new LP. I was thinking about going straight into Yakuza 5, but if I do that, I'll have to play it still pretty quick if I want to finish it before the end of the year, because I don't like having an LP spread out over years. Like, obviously I did that with Monster Hunter, but I mean more like I don't want to... With Monster Hunter, I knew it was going to take me a long time. With this, it's going to be like, I don't want to have 3 episodes next year after having like 50 of them this year. So I prefer to have a clean break like that. So I'm going to start Yakuza 5 at the start of next year, probably. Unless there's something really interesting that comes out around then that I want to do. Which, at the moment, I don't think there is. But, yeah. So the current plan is to start Yakuza 5 around there. So I might try and fill the rest of this year with a couple of quick... Not quick, but like shorter LPs. That might be nice. I do like doing them, but at the moment I haven't been. So, I don't know. I'll think about that. I've also noticed some like weird stuff going on with my short content recently. I post the same video on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Instagram is pretty consistent. I get the same number of views basically every video. I posted it there because I was always like, the only reason I wouldn't is because I couldn't schedule stuff, and now I can schedule stuff, so I just do that. It doesn't take very long, so whatever. TikTok is where I get the majority of my views normally, but every now and again I'll have a week on TikTok where all of my views will just like crash. I had a week, it was the week after Dawn Trail came out, where I saw a 70% drop off in views week over week for no reason, and then the week after everything went back to normal. I'll just have one week where my views just crater, and then the week after everything will be normal. And I know other people who make TikToks and stuff, and they all say the same thing. There just is a week on TikTok where everything will be terrible, and then the week after everything will go back to normal, and it just happens sometimes. Like, that's annoying, but there's nothing I could do about that. But what really confuses me is that every time that happens, my views on YouTube go up. So the week when everything's bad on TikTok, my views on YouTube go up, and then the week after, when everything goes back to normal on TikTok, my views go down. I've always viewed them as separate audiences, but it's almost like the audience just moves from TikTok to YouTube for a week every month and then moves back again. And I don't really get what is going on. I don't know if TikTok are doing something every now and again which just drives the entire audience away, and then somehow they manage to get them all back. But it happens pretty consistently. It's not consistent enough that I can go, oh, I can see this week is going to be a bad week. But when it happens, that week will be bad on TikTok and it will be good on YouTube. And then they'll both flip back to being what I'd expect again the week after. And it's just weird. I just wish I had some idea what was going on with it, but it just does its own thing, I guess. I think, other than that, everything's just going to carry on as normal now. Special thanks to all of my patrons. You can join them over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, and for $1 a month you'll get to see what I'm working on early and get exclusive roles on my Discord along with other rewards I might think of. You can also just follow me there if you want to for free, as it's probably the best place to see all of my content as soon as it's available. There's links to the Patreon along with my Discord, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and all the other podcast platforms in the description for this episode. Finally, don't forget you can email me using podencastby@gmail.com if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood, Hobbs, and Koopy Vegeta. You can join my patrons at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, check out my TikTok and Twitter @Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.